The Illyri had ruled the galaxy for so long that they had forgotten when they began. Their cities floated between stars. Their ships moved like thoughts. Their lives stretched across 50,000 years. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had watched young species crawl out of mud, learn to fly, and then disappear into dust. None of it surprised them anymore. To the Illyri, the galaxy was a garden. They were the gardeners. Every other species was either a flower or a weed. Most were weeds. Some were interesting for a while. Then they were gone. Then there were humans. The Illyri first noticed Earth 4,000 years before the story begins. A scout ship passed near the solar system. The pilot, a young Illyri named Thessalin, looked at the blue planet from a distance. She scanned it with her instruments. The results came back quickly. Primitive. Short-lived. No psychic abilities. No natural weapons. Soft bodies. Weak bones. No FTL. No sign of intelligence worth noting. Thessalin wrote a short report. It said, species, human. Threat level, 0. Value, 0. Recommendation, ignore. She closed the report and never thought about Earth again. 4,000 years later, Thessalin was old. She had become the leader of the Illyri Council. She had seen 1,000 species rise and fall. She had forgotten most of their names. Humans were one of them. But humans had not forgotten the stars. On Earth, generations lived and died while the Illyri slept. Humans built cities. They burned them down. They built new ones. They fought wars over land, water, and gods. They made art. They made music. They made mistakes. They learned from some of them. They looked up at the night sky every single night. They wondered. They dreamed. They asked the same question for thousands of years. Are we alone? The answer was no. But the Illyri never came. The Veth never came. The Kith never came. No one came. Not because humans were hidden. Because humans were boring. To the galaxy, Earth was not a mystery. It was a rock. A dusty, noisy rock with creatures who screamed at each other and died before they could learn anything useful. Alien traders passed within a few light years of Earth every decade. They never stopped. Why would they? There was nothing to buy. Nothing to trade. Nothing to see. Humans had no spice, no metal, no technology worth taking. They had only their dreams. And dreams had no value in the galactic market. But dreams kept humans alive. A human scientist named Ilara Vance stood on a mountain one night. She was 30 years old. She would live maybe 50 more years if she was lucky. That was nothing to the Illyri. 50 years was a short nap. But to Ilara, it was everything. She looked up at the stars and said, "Someone is out there. I know it." Her friend, a pilot named Marcus Chen, laughed. "You have been saying that for 10 years. No one has come. No one has called. Maybe we are alone." "We are not alone," Ilara said. "I can feel it. The math says we are not alone. The universe is too big for us to be the only ones." Marcus looked up too. The stars were cold and quiet. "Then where are they?" Ilara had no answer. She went back to her laboratory and worked harder. The Illyri were not the only species in the galaxy. There were hundreds. Some were old. Some were young. Some were friendly. Some were not. But they all shared one belief. Life was rare. Intelligent life was rarer. Intelligent life worth talking to was rarest of all. Humans did not make the list. A Veth trader named Kale visited the solar system once. He did not land on Earth. He just passed through on his way to somewhere else. He looked at Earth from his window. He saw lights on the dark side. Cities. He saw radio waves leaking into space. Noise. He listened for a moment. He heard music. He heard speech. He heard laughter. He shrugged and moved on. Later, someone asked him why he did not stop. Kale said, "They are loud but they have nothing to say. They fight each other over lines on the ground. They poison their own water. They burn their own forests. Why would I stop? They are dust. Dust that screams is still dust." That story spread across the galaxy. It became a joke. Dust that screams. That was humanity's name among the stars. No one said it with hate. They said it with indifference. Humans were not enemies. They were not friends. They were not anything. But on Earth, humans kept working. They did not know they were a joke. They did not know about the Illyri or the Veth or the galaxy. They only knew the stars were quiet. Too quiet. Ilara Vance built a new kind of telescope. It did not look at light. It looked at gravity. Tiny waves in the fabric of space. She pointed it at the sky and waited. One night, she saw something. A ripple. A disturbance. It was small. Almost nothing. But it was there. Something had passed near the solar system. Something big. Something artificial. She ran to Marcus. "I found them," she said. "They are real. They are out there. And they have been here. Right next to us. They just did not stop." Marcus looked at her data. His face went pale. "How long have they been ignoring us?" Ilara sat down. "Forever," she said. "They have been ignoring us forever." She looked out the window at the stars. For the first time, the silence felt loud. Not empty. Cruel. Someone was out there. They just did not think humans were worth visiting. Ilara made a promise to herself that night. She would change that. She would make them notice. She would make them remember. One day, the galaxy would stop seeing humans as dust. One day, humans would become their sky. Ilara Vance did not live to see the first FTL drive. She died at 83, old for a human, young for the galaxy. Her last words were, "Keep looking up." Her students kept that promise. For 300 years, humans tried to break the light barrier. They failed again and again. Ships exploded. Pilots died. Whole cities watched as test flights ended in fire. The Illyri, watching from afar, shook their heads. Dust that burns is still dust. But humans did not stop. The problem was not math. Humans understood the math. The problem was power. To fold space, you needed energy. More energy than a star. More energy than 100 stars. The Illyri had that energy. They had built their empire on it. But they had been given the secrets by an older race. Humans had no one to give them anything. They had to earn it. So they did. Generation after generation, human engineers built better reactors. Smaller. Stronger. Safer. Each failure taught them something new. Each death was remembered. Each broken ship was rebuilt. On the 400th year, a young woman named Sora Vance stood in a control room. She was Ilara's great-great-great-granddaughter. She had the same sharp eyes. The same stubborn jaw. She looked at a ship called the Phoenix. It was ugly. Welded metal. Exposed wires. No beauty. Pure function. "Today," Sora said, "we go faster than light." Her crew was scared. So was she. But fear had never stopped to Vance. The Phoenix fired its engines. Space bent around it. For 1 second, the ship disappeared. Then it reappeared. Not near Earth. Near Alpha Centauri. 4 light years away. 4 years of travel, crossed in 4 seconds. The control room went silent. Then Sora laughed. It was a loud, broken laugh. Tears ran down her face. "We did it," she whispered. "We finally did it." The Illyri noticed. Thessalin, now 50,000 years old, received the report. She read it twice. A species of dust had broken the light barrier. Without help. Without ancient technology. Without gifts. Just sweat and death and stubbornness. She set the report down. "Dust that moves is still dust," she said. But her voice was unsure. The Phoenix returned to Earth a hero. Sora Vance became the most famous human alive. But she did not rest. She built a second ship. Then a third. Then a 10th. Within 10 years, humans had visited 20 star systems. Within 50 years, 200. The Illyri watched with growing discomfort. Humans moved fast. Too fast. They did not plan. They did not ask permission. They just went. If a star looked interesting, they flew to it. If a planet seemed nice, they landed on it. They made mistakes. Lots of mistakes. Colonies failed. Ships crashed. People died. But they learned from every failure. And they kept going. By the 100th year of human FTL travel, humans had explored more star systems than the Illyri had in 10,000 years. How? The Illyri asked themselves this question again and again. They were smarter. Stronger. They lived longer. They had better ships. So why were humans winning? The answer was simple. Humans did not rest. An Illyri explorer would visit one star system, then go home and study it for 100 years. A human explorer would visit 10 star systems in 1 year, then go home and study them for 1 year, then visit 20 more. Humans lived fast. They died fast. They replaced themselves fast. A human generation was 25 years. An Illyri generation was 25,000 years. While one Illyri child grew up, 1,000 human families were born, lived, died, and sent their children to the stars. The galaxy began to watch. Veth traders saw human ships everywhere. Kith scientists received human messages asking for help. Marin diplomats met human ambassadors on worlds that had never seen an Illyri. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the smartest. But they were everywhere. A young Illyri named Valin asked his grandmother, the old Thessalin, "Why do the humans scare you?" Thessalin looked at him with tired eyes. "They do not scare me," she said. "They confuse me. They have no gifts, no power, no ancient secrets. But they do not stop. We have ruled for 1,000,000 years because no one challenged us. The humans are not challenging us. They are ignoring us. They are building their own galaxy beside ours. And I do not know how to stop something that does not fight." Valin thought about this. "Maybe," he said, "you cannot stop them. Maybe you can only join them." Thessalin did not answer. On Earth, Sora Vance was old now. 93. Her hair was white. Her hands shook. But her eyes were still sharp. She stood on the same mountain where Alara had once looked at the stars. She looked up and smiled. "We are not dust anymore," she said to no one. "We are not sky yet. But we are moving. And we never stop moving." She died that night. Peacefully. The next morning, 1,000 human ships flew to 1,000 new stars. The galaxy watched. And for the first time, the Illyri felt something they had never felt before. Fear. Not of human weapons. Of human will. The Illyri had watched humans spread across the stars for 100 years. At first, they did nothing. Humans were small. Their ships were ugly. Their colonies were messy. Let them play, the Illyri thought. They will tire themselves out. But humans did not tire. They grew. They multiplied. They built roads between stars. They turned empty worlds into busy towns. And they did not ask permission. Not once. The Illyri Council grew nervous. Thessalin, their ancient leader, called a meeting. "The humans are becoming a problem," she said. "They enter our space without asking. They trade with species we have claimed as our own. They act as if we do not exist." An Illyri general named Thoren stood up. "Give me the order," he said. "I will remind them of their place." Thessalin hesitated. She did not hate humans. She barely knew them. But she knew order. The galaxy had rules. The Illyri made those rules. Young species followed them. That was how things worked. She gave the order. The Illyri created new laws. No human ship could enter Illyri space without permission. No human colony could be built within 100 light-years of an Illyri world. No human could trade with Illyri allies. The laws were announced across the galaxy. Every species read them. Most obeyed. Humans read them. Then they ignored them. A human colony ship landed on a world called New Haven. It was beautiful. Blue skies. Green oceans. Perfect. It was also 80 light-years from an Illyri border world. Against the new laws. The Illyri sent a message: "Leave. This world is forbidden." The human colony leader sent one word back: "No." Thoren, the Illyri general, was furious. He wanted to send warships. He wanted to burn the colony. But Thessalin stopped him. "Not yet," she said. "We must show the galaxy that we are reasonable. Send a small force. Blockade the world. Starve them out." The blockade began. Illyri ships surrounded New Haven. No supplies could land. No ships could leave. The humans on the planet had food for 6 months. After that, they would starve. On Earth, a new generation of humans watched the news. They were angry. But they were not afraid. Sora Vance was dead now. Her granddaughter, a young woman named Elena Vance, commanded the Phoenix. The same ship that had first jumped to the stars. Old but still fast. Elena received a message from the Illyri. "Stay out of restricted space. This is your only warning." Elena read the message. She deleted it. Then she flew the Phoenix straight into the restricted zone. Straight toward New Haven. The Illyri saw her coming. Thoren sent 6 warships to intercept. They surrounded the Phoenix. Big ships. Armed ships. Deathly ships. Thoren opened a channel. "Human ship. You have violated Illyri law. Turn back or be destroyed." Elena Vance stood on the bridge of the Phoenix. She was 30 years old. Small. Dark hair. Calm eyes. She looked at the 6 warships on her screen. Then she opened a channel to all of them. "We are not dust," she said. Her voice was quiet. "Steady. We are not beneath you. We are beside you. Get used to it." Thoren laughed. "You have no weapons. No armor. No shields. One shot from my smallest cannon will turn you into fire." Elena smiled. "Then shoot." Thoren hesitated. He looked at his screen. The Phoenix was small. Ugly. Unarmed. Killing it would be easy. Killing it would also be murder. The galaxy was watching. Every species had sensors pointed at this moment. If the Illyri destroyed an unarmed human ship for disobeying a law, they would look like tyrants. Not rulers. Bullies. Thorin could not shoot. But he could not let the Phoenix pass. So he waited. He hoped Elena would turn back. She did not. Instead, 12 more human ships appeared. Then 20. Then 50. They came from everywhere. Colony ships. Cargo haulers. Old exploration vessels. None of them had weapons. None of them had armor. They just flew in and parked themselves between the Illyri warships and the Phoenix. A wall of unarmed human ships. Thorin stared at his screen. "What are they doing?" he whispered. An Illyri officer answered. "They are blocking us, sir. We cannot fire without hitting them. And if we fire, the galaxy will see us killing civilians." Thorin's hands shook. He had never faced this before. Enemies fought with weapons. Enemies fought with armies. Enemies fought with fear. Humans were not fighting. They were just standing there, refusing to move, refusing to be afraid. He opened a channel to Elena. "You will die if you stay." Elena's face appeared on his screen. She was still calm, still steady. "Then we will die," she said. "But we will die standing, not kneeling." Thorin looked at the wall of human ships. He looked at the colony on New Haven. He looked at the galaxy watching him. He made a decision. He turned his ships around. He withdrew. The blockade ended. The galaxy watched in silence. For the first time in a million years, the Illyri had backed down. Not because they were weak. Because they were facing something they did not understand. Something that did not fear death. Something that did not care about power. Something that just refused. Thessalon received the news. She sat in her great hall for a long time. Then she said, "The dust has risen, and it has blocked our sky." She did not know if she was afraid or impressed. Perhaps both. On New Haven, the humans cheered. Elena Vance stood on the surface and looked up at the stars. The Illyri ships were gone. The sky was clear. "We are not dust," she said to her people. "Remember that. We never were. We just let them believe it for a while." The galaxy did not forget that day. The young species saw what humans had done. They saw a wall of unarmed ships facing down the most powerful empire in history. And they began to wonder. Maybe the Illyri were not unbeatable. Maybe the rules could change. Maybe dust could become sky. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the Illyri began to plan. Not for war. Not yet. But for something worse. They began to fear. And fear makes even the wise do foolish things. The day the Illyri withdrew from New Haven, something changed in the galaxy. Not loudly. Not with explosions or speeches. It changed quietly, like ice melting. The young species had been watching. They had seen humans stand unarmed against warships. They had seen the Illyri blink first. And they began to ask questions. The first to reach out were the Kith. They were small, furry creatures from a wet world near the galactic edge. The Illyri had ignored them for centuries. Too weak. Too simple. Not worth the effort. The Kith had heard about the human stand at New Haven. They sent a message. A simple one. "Can you help us?" Humans answered. A single ship flew to the Kith home world. On board was an old engineer named Myra Chen. She was the granddaughter of Marcus Chen, the first pilot. She was 70 years old and did not care about politics. She cared about engines. She looked at the Kith ships. They were slow. Dangerous. They broke down after every flight. The Kith had given up on space travel. They stayed on their wet world, afraid to leave. Myra said, "Your fuel mixture is wrong. Too much hydrogen. Not enough helium. Fix that, and your engines will run twice as long." The Kith did not believe her. They had tried everything. But they tried her suggestion. It worked. Their ships stopped breaking down. They flew farther than ever before. They cried with joy. They asked what they owed. Myra said, "Nothing. Help someone else someday." The Kith never forgot. Next came the Marin. They were tall, thin beings from a desert world. Their problem was water. Their planet was drying up. The Illyri had offered to sell them water at a high price. The Marin could not afford it. They were dying. Humans sent a team of water engineers. Not soldiers. Not traders. Engineers. They looked at the Marin world for 3 weeks. Then they built something simple. Underground pipes that pulled water from deep ice below the desert. Clean water. Free water. The Marin leader asked, "What do you want in return?" The human engineer, a young woman named Sora Vance, the name repeated again and again in human history, said, "We want you to remember that someone helped you when you needed it. That is all." The Marin never forgot. Then came the Voss. They were bird-like creatures with sharp minds and sharp tempers. They had been fighting a civil war for 200 years. Two sides. Same planet. Same people. Same stupid reasons for killing each other. The Illyri had tried to stop the war. They sent warships. They made threats. The Voss ignored them. The war continued. Humans sent a diplomat. One person. An old woman named Elena Vance, now gray and slow but still sharp. She did not bring weapons. She did not bring threats. She brought a chair. She sat between the two Voss armies and waited. For 3 days, she Saturday. Neither side shot her. She was too old. Too harmless. Too strange. On the 4th day, she spoke. "I have seen humans kill each other for 2,000 years, she said. "We are good at war. Very good. But we learned something. War never fixes the problem. It just makes new problems. Your children will fight your war. Their children will fight it too, unless someone sits down and stops." The Voss leaders looked at each other. They were tired. 200 years of tired. They sat down with Elena. They talked for a week. They made peace. Not perfect peace, but peace. The Voss never forgot. Word spread. The Kith told the Marin. The Marin told the Voss. The Voss told others. Soon, 100 young species were reaching out to humans. Not for weapons. Not for money. For help. Real help. And humans gave it. Freely. Happily. They taught farming. They taught medicine. They taught engineering. They taught peace. Not because humans were the smartest species. They were not. The Illyri were smarter. The Veth were faster. The Krell were stronger. But humans remembered. They remembered what it felt like to be dust. To be ignored. To be told they were nothing. They refused to let others feel that way. The Illyri watched in confusion. Thessalin called her advisors together. "I do not understand," she said. "The humans gain nothing from this. No territory. No wealth. No power. Why do they help?" An advisor said, "Perhaps they gain something we cannot see." "What?" Thessalin asked. "Friends," the advisor said. Thessalin did not understand friendship. The Illyri had never needed friends. They had power. Power was better than friends. Or so she believed. She tried to stop the humans. She sent Illyri ships to pressure the young species. "Stop dealing with humans," the Illyri said, "or lose access to our markets." The young species refused. The Kith said, "We would rather be poor and free than rich and owned." The Marin said, "Humans gave us water. You gave us bills." The Voss said, "Humans helped us make peace. You helped us make war." The Illyri tried harder. They cut trade routes. They closed borders. They made threats. Nothing worked. Every time the Illyri pushed, humans arrived to help the young species stand on their own. Within 200 years, humanity had not conquered a single world. They had no empire, no army, no slaves, but they had friends on 1,000 worlds. Allies, partners, family. The Illyri held a meeting. Thessalin was very old now. Near the end, she looked at her advisors and said, "We are no longer the center of the galaxy." An advisor asked, "Then who is?" Thessalin closed her eyes. "The dust," she said. "The dust we ignored. The dust we called worthless. That dust has become the sky. And we did not even notice until it was too late." Outside the Illyri hall, a human ship landed. It carried medicine for a sick Illyri child. No one had asked for the medicine. Humans had heard about the sickness and come anyway. They did not care about Illyri laws or Illyri pride. They cared about the child. The Illyri guards did not know whether to shoot or thank them. They did neither. They just watched. And wondered. What kind of species helps its enemies? The answer was simple. A species that remembers being dust. A species that chose to become sky. Not above anyone, but beside everyone. The void swarm had slept for 50,000 years. It was not a species. It was a hunger. A cloud of living machines that ate stars and planets and anything else in its path. The Illyri had fought it once, long ago. They had pushed it back to the edge of the galaxy. But they had never destroyed it. They had only delayed it. Now it was back. The first warning came from a small Illyri outpost near the galactic rim. The outpost sent one message. "They are here." Then silence. The swarm had eaten the outpost. Every ship, Every person. Every atom. The Illyri sent their fleet. 5,000 warships. The most powerful armada in the galaxy. They met the swarm at a star called Norith. The battle lasted 3 days. At the end, the Illyri fleet was gone. 5,000 ships reduced to floating dust. The swarm kept coming. Thessalin, now 54,000 years old, sat in her great hall. She had ruled for so long that she had forgotten what fear felt like. Now she remembered. The swarm would reach the Illyri home world in 6 months. There was no stopping it. She sent a message to every species in the galaxy. Help us, please. The swarm will not stop with us. It will eat everything. The young species read her message. The Kith read it. The Marin read it. The Voss read it. They remembered Illyri cruelty. They remembered Illyri laws. They remembered Illyri warships threatening their worlds. Some of them thought, let the Illyri burn. They deserve it. No one answered. Except humans. Elena Vance was old now. 220 years old. Human medicine had extended life, but not forever. Her hair was white. Her face was lined. Her hands shook. But her eyes were still sharp. She stood on the bridge of the Phoenix. The same ship her grandmother had flown. The same ship that had first jumped to the stars. She opened a channel to every human world. The Illyri need help, she said. They were cruel to us. They called us dust. They tried to stop us. But they are dying. And if they die, the swarm will come for us next. So we go. Not for the Illyri. For ourselves. For our children. For everyone who wants to live. She did not have to ask twice. Every human ship in the galaxy moved toward Illyri space. Cargo haulers. Colony ships. Old exploration vessels. Passenger liners. Mining rigs. Nothing with weapons. Nothing with armor. Just ships. Just humans. They came by the hundreds. Then by the thousands. Then by the tens of thousands. A river of metal and fire and stubbornness flowing toward the swarm. The Illyri watched in disbelief. Thessalin saw the human ships on her screen. She counted them. 15,000. 20,000. 30,000. She had asked for help. She had expected nothing. She had received everything. Why? She whispered. Why would they come? No one could answer her. The battle began at the edge of Illyri space. The swarm was a dark cloud stretching across half a star system. It moved slowly, hungrily. It did not think. It did not feel. It only ate. The human ships formed a wall. A thin, fragile wall of unarmed vessels. The swarm hit them like a wave hitting sand. Ships exploded. Thousands died in the first hour. But the wall held. More human ships arrived. They flew into the fire. They did not run. They did not hide. They just kept coming. A human cargo hauler rammed a swarm ship. Both exploded. A human colony ship flew into the center of the swarm and detonated its reactors. The light was seen across 3 star systems. Human pilots flew until their ships fell apart. Then they flew some more. The Illyri watched from behind the human wall. Their own fleet was broken. They had nothing left to give. But the humans kept fighting. Not with weapons. With bodies. With ships. With stubbornness. General Thoren, who had once threatened to destroy the Phoenix, stood on the bridge of his damaged ship. Tears ran down his ancient face. They are dying for us, he said. After everything we did. They are dying for us. The battle lasted 3 weeks. At the end, the swarm was pushed back. Not destroyed. Not defeated. Just pushed back. Enough to buy time. Enough to save the Illyri home world. The surviving human ships gathered near Illyri space. Less than half had survived. Thousands of human lives were gone. Thousands of ships were floating wreckage. But the Illyri were alive. Because humans had stood in front of them. Thessalin flew to meet the human survivors. Her ship landed next to the Phoenix. The old Illyri leader walked out onto the surface of a small moon. She saw the human ships. Broken. Burning. Still flying. And she saw a woman. Old. Gray. Tired. Standing alone near the Phoenix. Sora Vance. The same Sora who had flown into the restricted zone. The same Sora who had faced down Illyri warships. The same Sora who had never stopped moving. Thessalin walked to her. Slowly. Painfully. Then she did something no Illyri ruler had ever done. She knelt. She lowered her ancient body to the ground before a human. You are dust, Thessalin whispered. Her voice broke. Now you are our sky. Sora Vance looked down at the kneeling Illyri. She did not smile. She did not gloat. She reached out her old, shaking hands, and helped Thessalon stand. "We are not sky," Sora said. "We are just people who did not forget what dust feels like." Thessalon wept. For the first time in 50,000 years, she wept. Not from sadness. From something she could not name. Gratitude. Shame. Wonder. All of it together. The galaxy never forgot that day. Humans became protectors, not rulers. They lifted every young species they found. They built a galaxy where no one had to feel like dust again. Not the Kith. Not the Marin. Not the Vos. Not even the Illyri. And every child, human or alien, learned the same truth. It does not matter where you stat. It matters where you stand when others fall. The Illyri built a statue of Sora Vance. Not on Earth. On their own home world. A human woman, old and gray, reaching out her hand to help an enemy stand. The statue's base had 2 words carved into it. Simple words. True words. From dust. Below that, 2 more words.